Welcome back, everyone. So, we've got what could be the start of a new trend that I really don't want to have happen. Here's the deal. Would you pay $15 at launch to access the New Game Plus of a game? That is essentially what Sega are asking fans of the Like a Dragon series to do. They have locked the New Game Plus behind a deluxe paywall at launch, which is crazy. And this is following Sega making a very big deal of how valuable this series is to their long-term ambitions and how the series is finally, in their mind, opening up to the West, which means a whole new audience can appreciate those games. But of course, unfortunately, that is coming at the expense of catering to their existing audience and certainly them trying to get a new strategy off the ground. There's also been a pretty confusing marketing campaign and just some corporate movements at the top of Sega that are suggesting that eyes are very firmly focused on getting more money from the Western market. And hey, if it's because they want to publish great games, I'm all for that. If it's because of stuff like this, I am not. So let's get into today's story. First, quick ask, check out bellular.ghost.io. That is essentially our own platform that we run. There we publish loading screen. Every day you'll get access to the actual research reports that the team puts together for these videos before I even see them, and you'll get early access to our actual videos themselves, and it of course is the best way to actually directly support our team and the content that we're trying to make. Okay, with that said, let's talk about this. So, the Yakuza games, I mean, pretty much everybody loves them, and as for Sega, they've really been talking up these games. We're looking at 21.3 million units sold for this franchise as of last year, so that's before any of this, like, newer stuff releases, and compared to other franchises, this was categorized to investors as a mainstay on the same level of, something like Persona, and Sega have said that they've got plans to expand the franchise in meaningful ways. Now, a lot of this could seem good. If you're a fan of Yakuza, you do want your Yakuza, which now I know is called Like a Dragon, you want those stonks to be going up. Unfortunately, though, what it means right now is nickel and diming. This is bad. Okay, infinite wealth for Sega. This is what's going on with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. When you take a look at the store page, you see the standard set of bonuses, outfits, music, some features for the Sujimon and Resort mini-games, and of course there's a pre-order bundle with some additional jobs for gameplay and leveling items, which does seem, unfortunate, but not the sort of thing that we've never seen before. Not really a deal breaker. Certainly, though, premium priced. Of course, on PC, we're not used to full console prices. Here, we're looking at £60 for the base game, $75 for deluxe, and for ultimate, $94.99, which is quite a bit. It does, though, get worse. You will see that there is the Master Vacation Bundle. Now, you may look at this and think, what is a Master Vacation Bundle? And funnily enough, the Steam page really won't do a good job of actually telling you what that is. There is no clear explanation. But if you then go to the game's actual website, you'll see that this includes, well, a bit more. A bonus dungeon, which isn't really a bonus dungeon. It's a dungeon that's been cut from the normal version and put into this version, so you get a bonus dungeon, an extra summon, more resort guests, and a new Game Plus feature. That is something that I think we would all say should be standard in a game for launch, or at the very least, I don't mean standard for every game, but if it's there, it should be in the base game. That seems like core game functionality, and in fact, design-wise, I really do think it is. We'll talk about the achievements in a bit. Now, the thing that's really sad here is this otherwise absolutely outstanding game. The reviews have been glowing, absolutely glowing. You are looking at a 70-hour game. For a lot of people I know, 70 hours, then doing New Game Plus, that's going to be quite a challenge. But still, the principle sucks, but when we look to the recent past, we can actually see how this sort of thing developed. So in 2020, they announced for Yakuza 7's Japanese edition that it would actually have New Game Plus as a paid DLC. Now, this is something that came a month after the game launched, and that kind of meant that this New Game Plus, it was after the release of the game. People didn't really notice it as much. I'm even thinking of, say, Capcom with the Resi 4 remaster, where they just inserted some microtransactions after the launch. So fundamentally, what we're seeing here is the same as what we saw in 2020 with Yakuza 7. But of course, in that case, there was some distance between launch and the New Game Plus, which at least would imply that some work was done after the game would have hit Gold Master. Whereas here, there is no separation. You can pay £60, $60 for almost all of the gameplay features, or you can actually have the full game for $75. This is just one of the many ways, I think, that these companies are trying to increase their average selling price. We see other strategies in the market. I think this whole premium early access thing that games are starting to do, that's a fairly major, example of that. Now, one thing that really sucks about this is a bunch of the game's achievements actually, and this is both Steam and Xbox, they require this New Game Plus, paid upgrade, right? So to me, it really does scream, no, this is core game functionality when it's there in the Steam achievement. So if you don't buy the premium version, you can't do all the achievements. Now, I don't put much weight on achievements, but I think in principle, that's just not the way that things should be. Now, funny enough, if you go to Yakuza 7, you'll see about 34% of players have got the achievements for finishing the main story. So that does actually mean that, realistically speaking, a lot of people will reach the end of the game and then will be faced with this New Game Plus decision, which they, won't be able to do because they haven't bought the thing. Now, to say that there's been fallout, of course, that would be understating things. This has been all over the internet. Props to Young, yeah. He voices Kiryu in the game, but he's came out saying, no, this is this is bullshit. He said, no game should lock New Game Plus behind a paywall. Doing so hurts community good and replayability, and net negative in the long run. It should be a base feature or free update. So, strong, principled position, even though in a way, it is kind of biting the hand that feeds him here. But what you want to see is, of course, those principles actually mattering to people, so props to him. And really, it is relitigating that entire launch day DLC thing. One of the biggest examples, of course, was the Forerunner or Prothean. What was it? You know what? I've forgotten. There's so many Forerunner races in games. But in Mass Effect 3, that really sucked. For some other notable examples, more recently, Callisto Protocol had some final story elements behind its second DLC pack. Prince of Persia 2008 had a $10 DLC that promised an epilogue for the game to finish the finale, but only for that to, end on a cliffhanger. So that was quite rough. And then, of course, I think the most famous one was Azura's Wrath, where the final boss of the story was locked behind a DLC pack. And then when you got that DLC, the whole thing was basically just a big sequel sort of tease. So it's not really hard to see the pattern here, to see what they want to do. They're no strangers to odd DLC practices. They've made enough of them for there, in fact, to be here a 30+ minute video cataloging all of them in context. So that was a pretty wild video to watch. So essentially, they tested this on the Japanese audience. Now they're doing a big push to the West, and clearly that test gave them data that they think will apply in a reasonable fashion here. Then there's the whole funny situation with XQC. My TLDR there essentially is what are they trying to do? Reach a new audience. How are they going to do that? Finding a really big streamer. But it's one of those things where you could say the product market fit is a little bit bizarre, led to some strange things on the actual stream. XQC had quite a unfamiliarity with the game, didn't know it was going to be turn-based, even though he's doing a Sega sponsored stream. For some, this was just kind of looking at Sega's decision making and thinking, why are you representing the game like this? I think they probably knew that some XQC like shenanigans would happen if they go with XQC, and given just the size of his audience, I think they're just going with exposure, kind of hell or high water. So that was interesting to see. Some of the more dedicated community for the game maybe weren't the most thrilled about this, but hey, it's marketing. What is marketing trying to do? It's trying to reach the people that they haven't reached already, and I suppose that's why strange things like this can happen. So I would say likely a calculated decision, but overall, I do think we should sort of take some context in mind here, because obviously one of the most recent stories was Creative Assembly. All of its drama, and essentially Sega just waking up and paying a lot of attention to the Western market. We saw with Creative Assembly alongside other studios like Relic that last year Sega, did decide to take more interest in their Western teams. Not necessarily, that's not necessarily going to make the Western teams happy or be good for them. It's just corporates looking at them now. And essentially I say that because Sonic, of course, was popular. Everything's going well enough there. You look at, say, Atlas, you look at what's going on with, Yakuza, or, Like a Dragon as we call it now, and you can see that with their Japanese teams, a lot of things were going really well. As for their Western teams, things clearly got a little bit off the rails when they were essentially just left to their own devices a little bit more from what we understand. And that's one of the reasons why we had so many layoffs following releases. And to go along with this, they've also shaken up a bit of the leadership structure with the president/COO and CEO of Sega America and Europe changing. It's moved to, I probably got to butcher his name, but Shuji Utsumi, I think, who's now been appointed to this role. And he's interesting because he, launched the PlayStation in America, the Dreamcast outside of Japan, and, has been a long-time Sega stalwart. Now, he returned to Sega in 2020, but when he did, he took up the role of General Manager of Game Contents and Business Service HQ. I think, in short, essentially, he's a guy with a lot of grand strategy-like experience, and, well, he is now leading their Western efforts. So essentially that's the situation. There is one more aspect to this story around their super game that we do need to talk about, but as it pertains to the Western market and all that stuff, essentially new leadership. They've shaken up teams at Creative Assembly, and I think some other studios. We had Hyenas die, and then now that they're taking Yakuza seriously for the Western market, they're definitely, increasing the aggression on some of their monetization. Now, speaking of that, of course, new projects does mean new ways to monetize things. And this essentially comes back to Web3. So they're actually still doubling down on the whole Web3 thing. There's some recent announcements here that their legacy IP will be used for those projects, whilst elsewhere, they keep on talking about the super games that they want to make. This has been an ongoing mystery the last while. We keep on seeing super game appear, and we've really been trying to work out what the hell a super game even is. Of course, you think a super game, you maybe think of quadruple A, and how all of the quadruple A projects have seemingly fallen over. I mean, if Spider-Man 2, a $300 and something million budget game, is still triple A, I don't know how expensive a quadruple A game is supposed to be. Anyway, to get to it, we're seeing essentially remake after remake of classic, well-known legacy IP be announced. They're trying to throw a bit more weight behind that. Then we get to a very interesting theory. This is a post from Andy Robinson. He's obviously over at Video Games Chronicle, VGC, who are a really strong, growing, and I think, broadly speaking, very high-quality outlet. They do great work. He's got a theory, which is that the super game could be all of these legacy IP remakes bundled together in an MMO metaverse, and he highlights this meeting here. So we've got this slide, lore and innovation, on the utilization of legacy IPs, all lovely, lovely stuff. But just that ending is interesting. We feel the elements are beginning to come together for our future medium-term growth. We are considering linking these titles with transmedia and super game in the future. So seeing that, you can maybe see why Andy is thinking, okay, they're going to link them together with super game. What could that mean? What are the current buzzwords? And people thinking metaverse stuff. Hopefully not. But yeah, I suppose that's the most recent update on super game. It does seem like something that could be very expensive and most likely would be doomed to fail. Anyway, the core message here is all of these companies are trying to find ways to increase the average sales price of their game, trying to recognize more revenue earlier on. That's why, you see just the way subscription bundles work, why you're seeing things like premium early access, why you're seeing like a core gameplay feature be put into DLC. Like, I thought that we were mostly done with this kind of thing with Mass Effect 3 a decade ago. We are obviously not. This is something that we should actually be aware of, because this is flat out you getting less for your money, and I don't like that. And it's not just that you're getting less compared to something that, you otherwise didn't know you were going to get. No, this is you getting like less compared to what you would expect in the standard feature set of a game. I really don't like some sort of world where the basic edition of the game is something that you feel is a bad decision, but one you have to make for financial reasons. I think that, a very raw principle, I want more people to get games. And I think that if, as a market, we start just treating an audience like that and kind of ruining that customer experience and sort of saying, for our premium game, you are the cheap premium game people. I don't like that. I don't want things to feel like the you know, like say you've got a normal economy class cabin on an airline and it's all well and good. And then you get on Ryanair, or I think it's Spirit Air over in the States. And you just kind of think to yourself, my God, is this what it's got to? Does it really have to be like this? And, well, I suppose there you go. Difference being it's not exactly like they're competing on price, unlike, I suppose, Spirit and Ryanair. Oh, bizarre. Right, let me know what you think. This sucks. Hopefully some sort of change can happen here, but to be honest, I don't expect it. I just think this is something that we've all got to be aware of for now. Okay, watch this video next. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.